What's up and welcome to the channel. In this episode we're going to be working on a Porsche Cayman S, so stay tuned and don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. We have a 2008 Porsche Cayman S loaded up on the trailer, and on the left hand side of the car this thing looks pretty good. There's not a scratch on it. But as we make our way over to the right hand side of the car, you can start seeing the damage. So there's a little bit of damage on the rear bumper cover, need a right tail light, the quarter panel needs to be replaced, and the outer wheelhouse also needs to be replaced. We've got some damage on the door, got some damage to the fender and the front bumper cover. So let's get this thing back to the shop and get to work on it. We've got this Porsche up on the frame machine, but before we clamp it down, let's go ahead and get the belly pans taken off and get this thing taken apart. So this car took an impact to the front of the door, right where the A-pillar is, where the hinges are, and it smashed the door in to where it is actually shielding or shrouding the bolts that hold the door on. So we don't have the car clamped down to the frame machine, but we don't have to pull very hard. So we're going to hook a hook to the door and try to pull the door away from the bolts so we can get the bolts taken out and get the door taken off. So that worked out pretty well. We got the bolts unshrouded. I was able to get them out and get the door taken off. So we've got the car mostly taken apart. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up on the clamps. We've got this Cayman clamped to the frame machine. Now we can get a few more things taken off the car, like this molding here, this quarter glass. We'll go ahead and pull the rear bumper and the busted tail light. We'll do an initial pull on the car and then we'll start getting some measurements. The quarter glass on this car is Lexan, which is a lightweight alternative to glass on race cars. Now it's bolted in and it's held in with little Allen head screws, so we took all of those out, which made it easy to get the glass out, but the reveal molding around the top of the door frame is actually held in with rivets. So we're going to take a drill and drill out all the heads of the rivets to get this reveal molding off. We've got the damaged taillight and the rear bumper cover taken off the car, and the glass man just showed up, so we're going to try to stay out of his way and let him cut the windshield out. So we've got to take off this stainless steel little kick plate here, and it is, if I'm not mistaken, it's double-sided taped or glued down. We're going to use some plastic tools so that we don't damage this stainless steel piece when we take it off. Yep, double-sided tape. All right, for our initial pull, we're going to put a clamp right here. See if we can get this quarter panel to come out a little bit. Now that we've got the initial pull done on the quarter panel, we can go ahead and start cutting the quarter panel off. This rear hatch on this car is in our way for getting the quarter panel taken off up at the top. So let's get the hatch taken off the car and get it out of the way so we can finish cutting the quarter panel off. So we're trying to get the outer wheelhouse remnants off of this vehicle, and on these Porsches they have a very thick undercoating put on the car which conceals the spot welds that we're trying to grind or drill, and a wire wheel will take it off, but it's kind of slow going. So we found if you take a torch, now you have to be super careful when you're doing this not to catch the car on fire, but if you'll take a torch and heat up the seam sealer on the area that you're trying to clean up, it'll turn it really crispy, and you can take the wire wheel and it makes light work of it when you're just wire wheeling so you can have access to the spot welds. So let's do that now and I'll show you how it's done. We've got the quarter panel and the outer wheelhouse completely taken off the car, and the torch trick worked really well for getting the seam sealer off. Now, I do have a disclaimer for the torch trick. If you're working on a car that's not a race car that has an interior in it, because most of these cars we're working on are race cars and they have very minimal, if any, interior in them, so I don't have to be concerned with catching the interior on fire. But when you're working on a car that has an interior, you need to be super careful. Actually, I almost don't recommend using an open flame on the outside of the car because that heat could transfer onto the interior and catch something on fire. You really need to be super careful if you're going to use the torch trick. I would almost, if you could, go ahead and pull the interior out of the area that you're working in just to make sure that nothing catches on fire, or just use a wire wheel and just take a little longer to do it. Better safe than sorry, right? But now that we've got all of the quarter panel taken off the car, let's go ahead and climb under this thing and start getting some measurements. We got the bottom of this Cayman measured out, so now let's move to the front hinge pillar and start getting it repaired and pulled. We got a new outer skin for the hinge pillar or the A-pillar, and the reason why we have the new outer skin is because we have to cut off the old one so that we can access the structural part of the pillar so we can get it pulled out so that the door will fit on the car and line up. So we're going to cut the outer skin off, weld to the structure part, and start pulling it out, and then we can weld on the new outer skin. Alright, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this hinge pillar or A-pillar, whatever you want to call it, is it's kicking our butts. It's not been really easy to fix. I feel like we've test fit this door a lot, but sometimes that's part of the process when you're trying to repair something. You have to test fit the door, you set it up there, it doesn't fit, pull it back off, do some measurements, do some pulling, do minor adjustments, set the door back up there, didn't work, pull the door back off. And you do this over and over again. You have to keep doing it until the door fits. So we sometimes things work really well and sometimes they don't, but we'll get it. We're going to keep working on it until this door fits.
That just stay right there, good. Yeah, that's further than I went.
Let it sit with pressure on it from you'll eat lunch. If that's a little further than where you need to be.
Oh, that's definitely further than I need to be.
Let it sit like that. It's really springy and going back.
Well, don't nobody walk nowhere near that.
Leave that door locked. And we know.
That'll do more than hurt you right there.
Dude, that was crazy. So that's what my dad means when he says stay away from the area that he's pulling. And the reason being, as you saw, if a tab were to break or a clamp break or something turn loose and you get hit with that piece of metal with that kind of pressure behind it and that kind of energy, it could be really bad. Like best case scenario, if it hits you in the head, it knock your teeth out and you're going to be hurt really bad. Worst case scenario, it would be fatal. So I can understand where he's coming from when he says stay clear of where he's pulling, and I hope anybody that's around any kind of frame machine knows this. When there's pressure on the chain, don't go anywhere near it. So I'm glad I caught that on video so you guys can see what we're talking about when we say, you know, stay clear of the chain. And it was really cool footage. Let's take a look at it again. Alright, so we finally got this hinge pillar where we want it. I feel like we hung that door and took it down about 50,000 times, but we're finally there. The gaps look good to the fender to the door, so let's move to the rear of the car and get the quarter panel and the outer wheelhouse test fit on. Alright, so we've got the A-pillar pulled where we like it. We've got the hinges tack welded in place, and the door is just kind of sitting up there for test fit purposes. We're also going to be putting the fender on here and check the gaps to the fender to the door. But the gaps to the quarter panel to the door are really good. So we've got the quarter panel set up here, got the outer wheelhouse set in place. Everything's fitting pretty well except for right here. There's a gap between the outer wheelhouse and this panel right here, so we're going to have to get this panel pulled out to where it meets the new panel here. Before we pull the quarter panel off to get that pulled out, we're going to go ahead and trim up the edges, like right up here where the seam's going to be. We've got to trim it up so it'll fit better there and there, and that's pretty much it. So let's get back to work. Got the final fitment done on this quarter panel. Got the rear bumper cover set on there, the tail light, the deck lids put on. Everything lines up really good. All the gaps look good, so we're ready to start welding this thing up.
Some people are like clouds. When they go away, it's a brighter day.
Alright, so that's going to be about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, hit that like button and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. That way you won't miss any future content. If If you have any thoughts or questions, you can leave it in the comment section down below. I want to thank you guys for all your support, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. See ya!